You're very welcome back to Ireland AM. From growing up in Belfast at the height of the Troubles to spending almost 18 years in total in prison, former mobster turned author and CEO Stephen Gillen has lived a truly remarkable life.
Now, Stephen is sharing his story with the world via his new book, Extraordinary, The Search for a Life Worth Living. And he's been good enough to stop in now to chat about it. Good morning, Stephen. Good to see you, sir.
Hi, Martin. How you doing? It's always wonderful to be home. You know, as I said to you before, I was kissing the ground in my head. Really, honest to God. So
we should have had a welcoming committee to greet you off the plane. Anyway, your story is just amazing. This book, Extraordinary, this is your third book. So what's the angle with this one?
This is a lot more detailed. You've got the untold chapters in there, Martin. You know, I've had a team around me with this one. I've been privileged enough, you know. She's got the literature agent. You've got the editorial team and the publisher and all that. Corners Publishing, Agent Fox Media, have to mention them. They've done an amazing job. That's been a great help. So it's all in there, you know, the whole bit.
Yeah, it takes us through a lot of your upbringing, particularly maybe the years in Belfast. Tell us about that.
It was so nice to come back. It always is. You know, you was brought up, Elaine. So in them times, there was a lot of darkness for a lot of people. I was born in England, but as a 6-month-old, I was taken back to the North Belfast. Divis Flats, we started at, you know. All my family, they're all from there and the borders there. You know, I've a family in Dublin as well. So I was taken back there. I stayed there till I was 9, but it was right in the thick of it in them days, you know, the early 70s.
You watched a 7-year-old after being shot. You saw some horrific things when you were there.
There was so much of it, Martin, for all of us there, you know, and the thing is peace, you know, for all of us. Irish people are, you know, I always say they're the most wonderful people, you know, we really are. But it was very, very bad. There was so much going on, but I did, you know, I had to watch a guy who was shot in the middle of a riot die in front of me, and he was calling for his mother. I mean, I was 7. To me, that was.
So you were 7, yeah.
I was 7.
Yeah.
That was horrendous to me, you know. So I had to keep that.
What was your home and family life at that point like at that point? Because was there any attempts to kind of help you, shelter you from it, or were you all just very much exposed? Bring us through what your life was like then.
This is the thing. I mean, my family there were very God-fearing, kind people. They're really old school, you know. Elaine, inside the door it was very much like that. Outside the door it was something else, of course.
Okay, all right. So you're a house angel, street devil. Is that what you're saying, Stephen?
When I was allowed out, I was really the kid, Martin, who was upstairs looking out the window thinking, oh, they're all out, how can I get out? But I was never really allowed out because of the trouble. So that was the truth of it.
Okay. Did that change when you went back to England?
Yeah, I mean, you're a 9-year-old with the case. My surrogate mother died of cancer, so they said, oh, you know, he needs a woman's hand. So that was the reason I was back to the UK, back to London, the East End, and all this stuff. And it went from bad to worse, really after that. You know, that was a very tough time.
You went through care homes and foster homes.
All of this kind of stuff. A lot of them was violent. You know, a lot of bad stuff was going on there.
When you say it went from bad to worse, I mean, I'm interested to see what actually your life was like then. I mean, we spoke about it earlier, that you spent 18 years in prison in total, but what led you down that path specifically, and did you start on little things? Did it grow? Bring us through that, if you would.
The little bit, Elaine, was, I was, you know, I had to survive. I was feral, of course. I didn't have the instruction, I didn't have the guidance, I didn't have the security. So I went through a lot of children's homes, there was a lot of violence. You'd try and look after the younger ones. So we'd run away and come back and get in trouble. Stupid stuff that went into big stuff. But then I was groomed then, right, you know, very, very early on, and went from petty crime into really serious organised crime really quickly.
With gangs?
Yeah. Like. Because the guys who were at the top level, they'll see somebody like you, they'll see your vulnerability and they say, well, you know, prove your loyalty. Here, there's a gun.
It's all of this kind of stuff. And what you find as well, Martin, is even the ones a little bit further up, they'd been through it the same way, and didn't know any more either. But they've kind of gone up, got older, so they have these blinkers on. They think this is the only way, which of course is the wrong message.
Yeah.
Of course.
What crime did you just get the largest block of time? I mean, what did you actually do, and what were you convicted of?
Well, there was, it was serious organised crime. I was around a lot of the really, really notorious, high-level target criminals of today. It has to be said, Elaine. Let's just say how it was. Me, I had 3 trials at the Old Bailey for armed robbery. Beat the first one. Second one, I beat it. I'd got possession of a firearm. The third one, there were shots fired at the police and all that after a 2-year operation with the flying squad. And I got 17 years for that as a Category A prisoner.
Category A. What does Category A mean?
Well, it's the highest security category. I was released in it too as well, Elaine, which is quite rare.
Yeah. Were you kept segregated from the rest of the prisoners then, or what way did that work? Were you kind of considered the most violent and dangerous in that kind of cohort?
That's what they say. I mean, Category A, they say the definition is highly dangerous to security, the public, the police, the security of the state. So it's all, this is what it would be. So a different prison, really, Elaine. You're imprisoned within prisons, and it's all about security, and you're not really in the general prison population. So it gives you an idea.
Yeah. So what happened in prison that made you decide, I need to look? Because generally people go out, they can't find a job, they go back to their old life, and they wind up back in prison again. So what was it that happened in prison that made you decide, I'm changing my life?
There are many things, I'd seen through that life for a long time. I mean, I had friends who I'd known for 25 years, and of course, when it turned the wrong way, they set me up to get me killed. So there's a lot of messages all the way through. You think, this is no kind of life at all. How did I arrive here? But, I'd definitely come to a place, where I couldn't hurt no one no more. Myself, my family, I couldn't... So, people say, was you mad, was you bad? I'd say, look, I may have been all of them things at one time, but really what it was with me, I had the opportunity, I had the courage, I had the circumstance, I had the opportunity to find my way back to myself, mine.
Yeah. Look, nobody's born bad. Yeah. It's just your environment that will dictate that.
I'm just wondering how you got back to yourself. I mean, how did you do that?
It's a long and winding road, Elaine, which sadly many don't make, because we're not talking about strong in the arm here. We're talking about emotional, spiritual, mental strength here, which is a lot more strength that we need than physical strength, I would say. As human beings, we find that really hard with what we're faced with. So I needed a lot of help, but it took me a lot of years to begin to sort myself out.
Yeah, because
that's the start of it.
And people, well, where have you been for the last 17 years, Stephen? And then you tell them, and sometimes they're reluctant to give you a job.
Well, if you think about that, you've got 3-4 years until a sentence like that would hit your mind, but you've also got 2-3 years on the other side of it because you're institutionalised. Yeah. Till you can sort yourself out a bit. So this gives you an idea of what you're up against, really, internally.
So what did you do in that transition to make you what you are now?
Well, I've done a lot of voluntary work. I need to get my humanity back. I stayed away from people, places and things. That was it, of course. I went to university. I got a degree. I passed with honours. I started at the bottom, right? My family had a building company. I was £60 a day labourer in all weathers. But within 18 months, I'd built my own companies, and I had moved forward like that. So there's a bit of a middle bit to what I went on, and what I do today.
And now you're CEO, yeah.
Yeah, I've built a few companies now. I'm CEO of a media company, RMC Studios. Of course, I do a lot of TV work. I've just finished a series with Ross Kemp. One of the best things I have to say, 2019, I was nominated for an International Peace Prize. That has to be said.
That's
because this is what makes my heart sing. We're only borrowing all this stuff anyway. I've had a long, it's a lot. It goes a lot deeper, doesn't it?
Okay. Is all that behind you now, from the point of view, you mentioned that some of the people that you would have associated with, who you considered as friends, were actually setting you up to be killed. That's not a worry that you have anymore.
No. Look, I always played by the rules of that life, Mark, which is one thing I would say. So when I come out of it, I'd paid my dues. I wasn't over a barrel. I wasn't beholden to no one. So it's about choices. I'd saw through that life. And when you're saying about friends setting you up, the reality is it's not that these people didn't even know me, love me, respect me. It's clear to say this, but if circumstances in a certain way will go against you within their life and you become positioned for something else, that's how cruel it's going to be for you. That's how cold and how clinical it's going to be for you. It's good to say that so people understand that.
Yeah. And of course, a resilience code as well, which is something you're passionate about. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm doing that in conjunction with something else, which is called Flowcoin. But the reason why I say that is they're putting a lot of money into the charity arm of what they're doing. It is about resources and lifting people up. Let's be honest, you need the opportunities here. So, you know, Flowcoin is putting, you know, a lot of money into, well, I'm the brand ambassador for that. So, you know, it's going to enable us to put money into boxing gyms, to women's shelters, to all the good stuff and give it a good chance.
Yeah,
so this is important.
Listen, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It's lovely chatting to you. And of course, Stephen's new book, Extraordinary, The Search for a Life Worth Living, will be available in bookshops across Ireland. That is from April 4th.
Next, how to deal with those toddler tantrums. We'll see you in just a few minutes.